All right, well, welcome. Hopefully we are having a good good start to trimester 2.2. And so I'll just start the class, and as more people kind of filter in, I'll let them in, but I'll try to get class start at normal scheduled time. But I understand today's the first day of the trimester, and we just need to kind of get back into the groove here of it. So it's great that some people are putting in the chat the highlight over the weekend. So let's continue to do that. While some know who I am Mr. Newcomb. You can call me Mr. Newcomb or Nuke. And so for those who I had for trimester 1.1 and 1.2, welcome back. For those who are new to my section, well, welcome, and hopefully the transition from Ms. Seiden to me will go smooth. I mean, we are very similar in our style of teaching. So again, looks like people have gone outside, did some good Minnesota things outside, like ice skating and skiing. Someone in my first hour had done a little snowmobiling, so that's great. I think it's always fun to do. Got a new pet, so that's fantastic. For myself, watched the Pixar film Soul, so that was good. Did get some time outside as well. So watching football, those individuals who might have been Packer fans, well, your heart got pulled out of your body and stomped on a little bit. So that's unfortunate. So that's if you're a Packer fan. If you're a Bucks fan, way to go. Or if you're a Chiefs fan, all right. I think the interesting thing, if we talk about history-wise with the Super Bowl, first time in 55 Super Bowl games, there will be the town that is hosting it will actually have its team in it as well. So that's huge. Played boot hockey. That is fun as well. I've only scored 2 goals in my ice skating and boot hockey careers for the amount of time I played. And scoring while running around on boots without suction cups can be a little difficult as well. Hanging out with friends is always important. So again, all right. So you can see I've put an agenda up there, and I'll every day I'll have an agenda posted when you come in, and you can see kind of the things that we are going to do for that particular day. And in a moment, I'll give some highlights to the trimester 2.2. The activity I opened up this morning on causes of the Great Depression. And then for many of you, I do know who you are. And for those who I don't know, please fill out the Getting to Know form. That way I can see if there's another name that you'd like for me to refer to you as. And then if you did have me trimester 1.1, 1.2, again, feel free to please fill out that form. Again, I'm kind of curious to see, your thoughts on how distant learning is going, and what kind of concerns you may have, and things that I could potentially, help you with. So please take some time to fill out that Getting to Know form. All right, and so hopefully we know that we are, just in case you're not in the right section, this is IB History of the Americas. So if you're registered for the 20th century, you're going to want to exit out and attend first hour tomorrow. All right. So with that, I want to give you a few little highlight for trimester 2.2. When when we left off in 1.1 and 1.2, we got done with the U.S. Civil War and finished up with Reconstruction. Now we are going to fast forward a few years and bring it to looking at another topic, and that is going to be Great Depression. Again, remember, because of how this year is set up with the hexmesters and the amount of time that we have, we're going to focus mainly on our topics and not going to have those bridge units that we normally have had in the past. So try 1 was focusing on U.S. Civil War. Try 2 is going to focus on the Great Depression, and try 3 is going to focus on the Civil Rights Movement. But Ms. Seid and I, we have decided that we weren't going to do the internal assessment this year in year 1. Instead, we'll focus on the internal assessment in year 2. And because we did that, it's going to allow us to have a bridging unit between the Great Depression and the Civil Rights, and we will bring in the Second World War. Now, when we look at the Great Depression, we're going to look at a series of case studies, case study on the United States, Canada, and Mexico. In all instances, we're going to look at the causes, what's contributing to the Great Depression in those countries, and then how the leaders respond and the impact the Great Depression is going to have on those 3 countries. And we're going to do them in case studies. And so hopefully we'll find some commonalities, some differences, and some commonalities as well in there. So that will be a good chunk of trimester 2.2. Another part of 2.2 is also looking at the Second World War, and we're going to kind of look at through the lens of the United States. And so the focus is on us, and we're going to look at neutrality to war, what brings the United States into the conflict. Take a look at some things that are brought up in the conflict, like the atomic bomb and the Holocaust, but also want to look at the human experience in the Second World War as well, look at various groups. So that's going to be our 2 big units that we'll focus on in trimester 2.2. Now, of course, the key to success in this trimester is like the key to in the previous ones as well. You want to stay on top of the assignments. You want to reach out if you have questions or concerns, get involved as well. And so that, like we've done today, put things into the chat is a way to get involved. Unmute as well at times to share your thoughts and concerns or add to the discussion. Of course, we'll have maybe some of those unpopular breakout rooms or just some brainstorming sessions on a Jamboard. But try to get you involved here. Involving or being involved in class really will help out you having success and feel a little bit more connected here as well. All right. So like I did mention, we have a short trimester, 6 weeks. So Ms. Seid and I, we've taken a look at our pacing. And so hopefully you'll find that our pacing is going to be doable. Okay. So anyone have any questions or concerns as we start the day here? Again, you can always unmute or just put it in the chat and I will address it then. Okay, so the assignment is causes of the Great Depression. Now, when we think of the Great Depression, what is the event that we feel kickstarts it?
The stock market crash.
Yes, we most commonly look at the stock market crash as like the beginnings of the Great Depression. We don't really call it the Great Depression until about 1932. And normally we refer to our economic downturns as panics. And a depression is just a recession that will continue over a number of quarters, business quarters and stuff like that. So maybe some of us have taken economics, and some of these terms will kind of resonate with you. But we're going to find out that there is a lot more factors that go into causing the Great Depression than a stock market crash. Okay? And so we want to focus on those pieces as well. You know, as we look at the Great Depression, you know, I think it's natural for us to kind of make connections to what's happening today, you know, with the pandemic and COVID-19. Now, if you think about in your lifetime, all right, in your lifetime, you have had to deal with really two difficult economic uncertain times. You've had the Great Recession in 2007 to 2009. If it would have lasted longer than 2009, then we could probably refer to it almost like a Great Depression, but we recovered. And then COVID-19, you know, starting with last year in 2020, and it's carried into 2021. We find ourselves in some difficult economic times, and so. And that's something that you can kind of look back on for you and say, like, hey, wow, dealt with it, or we're dealing with it, and we found pathways out of it. So it's going to make us a little bit more resilient. So if we want to try to have a positive spin there. Still, though, when we look at the Great Recession of 2007 through 9 and the current pandemic, COVID-19, and how it impacted our economy, it naturally gets us to think about, you know, role of government and role of individuals. And so throughout this unit on the Great Depression, I will ask you at times to kind of look at what is the role of government and what is the role of the individual in getting us through these difficult times. You know, get you to think about it. We don't necessarily have to verbalize it. We'll probably write our thoughts down as well. But get you to think about that. Because the Great Depression is kind of a turning point in how we view government and our role. All right. And so it's at times to kind of do that gut check there. I think we also will find out is how connected different sectors in the economies, in our economy, is really connected. You know, how connected, to what degree they are connected. You know, you get that cause and effect. So like if we look at the causes of the Great Depression in the late 20s, early 30s, you know, we already threw out there the stock market, but there are other things that are connected there. There were things that there were events happening, trends happening in our economy that really indicated there's going to be a big old economic hurt coming in the United States. It's just a matter of paying attention to them as well. And it's that cause and effect. If we have a downturn in construction, what's the effect? Right? What's also connected with it? So as we find today, when we shut down businesses and limit interactions, we found out there's an economic cost. All right, so how do you address it and how do you fix it? And so you've got that cause and effect, that multiplier effect here, and that interdependence, and it really is going to cause us to think about, you know, what is our economic system that we need to be under? What is the responsibility of government? What is the responsibility of individuals? All right, I'm getting philosophical right here, right now. All right, what I would like you to do is go into Schoology right now and call up the assignment Causes of the Great Depression. All right, so you can see it right here. And you can find that in the current folder. All right, that's going to have all our stuff. And I'm only going to post assignments either the day we open them up, or we're going to start them, or maybe the night before we start them, kind of give you a little prep. So if you click on causes of the Great Depression, it's going to look at this. It's a visual vocabulary activity here. It's solo. It's one of our first assignments, and it's going to be due Wednesday the 21st. If you open up the causes of the Great Depression 2020, it'll look something like this. All right. And so there are 2 articles or 2 handouts, and you'll find that they are attached here as well. So there's no reason for you to go out on the World Wide Web, or sometimes what Miss Ida and I would like to say, GTS it, Google that stuff. Really, you should just look at those 2 handouts and the topics that you are going to do. And you're going to need to do all these topics, A through H, is match your strategy here is kind of match up these topics with section or subsection headings in these articles. And that will focus. So you don't necessarily have to read the whole thing. Just again, look for your context clues and be able to find the information. So we're looking at the Wall Street crash. We're looking at rural poverty, get-rich schemes. All right. And that's going to primarily be in like real estate and stock market, banking system problems, the cycles of international debt. So that's what that is, international debt. And the international debt is a result of the First World War. During the First World War, remember Uncle Sam was really the ATM of our allies in the First World War. Now it's got to pay it, and they're going to struggle to pay it. And then the uneven distribution of wealth. All right, so we're talking about the social economic gaps. And so we're going to focus on women, Native Americans, and African Americans. All right, so kind of picked a few groups to focus on there. All right, so we know it's a solo activity. We've got 2 readings here, articles. Here's our topics. You can do this either in Notability or on Google Slides, or you can do it on paper and then just take a picture of it as well. But if you do it in Notability, Google Slides, you want to submit a PDF of it. Or if you do it in Google Slides, you might put that link in Schoology. But if you put a link in, you got to make sure you give me permission. But usually you can convert those things into PDFs. And if you do it on paper, you take photos. And if you do it on paper, you can use multiple pieces of paper. Just make sure you submit all your photos. For each of the topics, though, so if we've got here 2, 4, 6, 8, we got 8 topics. For each topic, you'll need to have 1 direct quote from the article to explain the topic. All right, so again, you can't go necessarily GTS this. You got to go into one of those articles, find a quote or a little extract that explains the topic. So your topic is get-rich schemes. Find a article that explains the topic, and then 2 to 3 bullet points in your own words to help give further explanation. All right, so you find something in the reading that tells us about get rich, and then you also give your own interpretation of that as well. You read a little bit further on, and you put it in your own words. And then on one hand, and then one hand-drawn visual that helps explains the topics. It can be simple. Again, I'm not expecting us to be some Renaissance artists here, but draw something that is representative of that. And of course, be appropriate when you do that. And then as always, as you know, from 1.1 or 1.2, Poseidon and I, we are always interested in the summary question. So somewhere on your assignment, you need to answer these 2 summary questions. You know, we sometimes refer to those as like the BHQ, the big historical question. So to what extent was, excuse me, the Wall Street crash of 1929 the main cause of the Great Depression? All right, to what extent is gray? So it allows you to bring in other interpretations, other factors. And then imagine you are an economics professor, all right, who can predict future events. If you were told that you could prevent the Great Depression from happening by fixing 2 of the issues from the list above, so from that list of 8, which 2 would you fix and how would you fix it? Okay, so that is the assignment due Wednesday. And I also had attached that visual a little bit bigger so you can see it and understand it a little bit more, kind of as an example to see. Again, it's labeled, got a little quote here, you got some interpretation here, and you got some visual. You got a visual here. All right. Any questions on this assignment? All right, so your task for today is twofold. One, I'm asking for you to fill out that getting to know form. And I had sent that form out earlier, but again, you can also find that in the week 1 folder, the getting to know form. So that's your first task. And your second task is to start digging in on this assignment. Do a little research. Mark up the text, kind of find your quotes, and then think about what kind of visuals you might be drawing. And it is due Wednesday. Now, I'll take a little bit of time on Tuesday and Wednesday to talk a little bit about the Great Depression as well. But I will give a good amount of time for you to work on this assignment as well. All right. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Okay, so I've got through everything I need to do with you right now. I'll leave this Google Meet open for people to stay on and ask questions. If not, you are free to go and have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.